everybody? Welcome to the MKUltra show. I am your host, Carter M. Nelson. It's a beautiful Friday, July 10th. This concludes the week of broadcast. It's been a fun one. Decent amount of stuff going on, nothing crazy. We are ultimately wrapping up what has been an overall slower news week. But a story that has been developing over the course of the last 5 days is the preliminary hearing in the Charlie Kirk shooting trial. So, yeah. Do you like Gypsy Crusader or just a fan of Crusaders? Yeah, I do like Gypsy Crusader. Absolutely. If you're wondering if that's where the name comes from, no, it's from my love of Crusaders. But yeah, I like him. But back to what I was saying. So, the Charlie Kirk shooting, a preliminary trial. It's concluded now. It's been going on for the last 5 days. A lot of major information is coming out about the shooting and the assassination overall, and all of the evidence is pointing towards one name, a name which we have concluded did the shooting pretty much immediately after it happened, and that is Tyler Robinson. He currently seems like he is on a fast track towards death row. I would be very surprised if this goes any other way. I mean, we are looking at the evidence coming out. It's all pretty conclusively showing that it is him. We have video footage, we have written confessions, we have text messages, everything saying it was this guy. We got him. And the defense isn't even fighting any of it. They're not even trying to fight any of it. And I understand why. There's not really much room for debate here. It's pretty clear what we have. So, what the defense is going to be arguing as this hits an actual court and the trial begins, they're going to be arguing that he doesn't deserve the death penalty. I mean, best case scenario for Robinson here is that his defense gets him a plea deal, which he receives life in prison. That is almost certainly the very best case scenario for him. And honestly, I think that the death penalty is pretty suitable for what he did. I mean, it was a horrific action. I'm sure many of you watching this right now can understand and remember deeply the feeling of seeing what happened to Charlie. I've made it clear over the course of my channel that I am not the biggest fan of what Charlie Kirk supported, what he did. I had major disagreements with him politically. But when I saw what happened, I mean, it was one of the most tragic days in modern American history. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration. I think this is one of the most tragic events to happen to America in the last decade. Maybe the last 2 decades. I mean, it was heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. It was hard to watch. I mean, this was a man who, again, disagreed with him on a lot of major political standpoints, but I truly do believe that Charlie Kirk at times was trying to do what was right. I fully believe that this was a man who was a Christian, and a lot of what he did came from his religious viewpoints. So that just makes it so, it was incredibly heartbreaking. So, yeah, I do fully believe that Tyler Robinson deserves the death penalty. But the reason we're talking about this isn't to try to conclude what will happen to Robinson. It's more of there's a greater social idea that we can draw from this. There is a lot going on with this trial. While many of us have all understood it was Robinson, it was clearly Robinson, the evidence will come out and it will point towards Robinson. There are a number of members on the right wing who are incredibly convinced that this was the Frankists, this was the Israelites, this was the CIA, it was Erica Kirk herself. They have built this giant web. It was Egyptian planes. Remember when Candace was saying that it was Egyptian planes and then she just dropped it? Yeah, so They created this giant web of reasoning to try to explain what exactly happened. But as time has gone on, we have seen that web crumble and them put new pieces into it to try to hold it together because they are in such a dire need for a conspiracy here. Now, we have this evidence coming out and it's saying, well, we were right from the beginning. We are vindicated. And I hate to say I told you so, but it's kind of the situation we're in. And it's a lot bigger of an issue that we had all of this going on because, believe me, I'm a conspiracy guy. Many of us on the more extremities of the right wing are conspiracy guys. But the issue is when you take a situation like this and you immediately label it as a conspiracy, you go straight to blaming Israel. Well, now that takes away from the hard work people have done to show Israel's legitimate involvement in major U.S. events throughout history. I mean, let's compare this to a shooting like JFK. With the JFK shooting, obviously one of the biggest conspiracy hubs in American history. It's littered with conspiracy. But when we break that down, it makes sense why. I mean, let's just look at the shooting itself. The video footage isn't very conclusive of exactly what happened. There's a decent amount of evidence that points towards multiple parties involved. The shooter himself ended up being killed by Jack Ruby, also known as Jack Rubenstein. So Lee Harvey Oswald is the- pretty much he's the guy that it gets pinned on. He's the guy that the agreed consensus killed JFK. And then Jack Rubenstein kills Lee Harvey Oswald while Oswald is in detainment, right? So you have this guy, he gets captured, he gets killed by somebody else. And then you look at a motive of why would Israel do something like this, and there was a legitimate motive there. You can break it down, and you can look, oh, well, Kennedy had a desire to regulate and investigate into Israel's nuclear program, something that they weren't in favor of. He did significant pushbacks against CIA operations, Operations Northwoods. That's something you should all look into. A planned program where the CIA was going to shoot down a commercial airliner full of college students, blame it on Cuba to justify war. That you want to know why that didn't go through? JFK. He said, absolutely no, we're not doing that. So there was a legitimate motive to take him out. Now let's go to Charlie Kirk. Well, with the Charlie Kirk, this is a guy who was, I hate to say it post mortem, but Israel's top goy. He was the biggest fighter for Israel on the right wing outside of a name like Ben Shapiro. And Charlie Kirk was bigger than Ben Shapiro at the time of his death. And post mortem has certainly become bigger than Ben Shapiro. He was their top guy. Excuse me. He was the biggest supporter of Israel on the right wing overall, without a doubt. No doubt. Throughout his entire career, he was a major pusher of the idea of Judeo-Christian values. That was something he fought hard for. Throughout his career, he went through the Groyper Wars. Why did he go through the Groyper Wars? Well, it was because of his hardline stance on Israel, because of how much he supported them. And anytime anybody came up to him questioning history, questioning Israel, what did we see? What did we see time and time again? Well, we saw him criticize those for questioning. We saw him argue very strongly against them. We never saw any signs that he was changing his mind. And that's what this conspiracy is based around. It's saying, oh, well, yeah, obviously, Charlie Kirk was about to change up. Well, all of the evidence says that no. Three hobos arrested on the day of the JFK shooting were confirmed CIA agents. Yeah. The JFK shooting is littered with conspiracy. There's obviously something there. So that's what gives it a legitimacy. That's why it's something that deserves to be looked at. When we look at Charlie Kirk, we don't have any evidence of anybody doing anything. When we look at Charlie Kirk, we see a guy who, to the day of his death, was a firm supporter of Israel. We have a guy who was going to meetings with Israeli intelligence. Why? Purely because he wanted to create a story that he was capable of defending. Charlie wasn't noticing that, oh, Israel's our biggest enemy. He was noticing that, hey, what they're doing in the press isn't looking very good. We need to change this up because it's getting incredibly difficult for me to defend this nation. He was noticing that it's getting difficult. There wasn't any signs of change. I mean, he talked to Ben Shapiro not out of a place of gotcha. It was purely out of a place of let's create a narrative. Let's create a narrative here. I'm going to bring Israel's top guy in. I'm Israel's top guy. We're going to talk together to allow for some kind of narrative to be formed. That's what we have going on with Charlie Kirk. Why would Israel take out their top guy? For every conspiracy, you need a couple of things. And this is something I've been talking about for a very, very long time now. You need evidence. You need some kind of legitimate evidence. Otherwise, it's just a nut job theory. What else do you need? Well, you need a motive. Not only does there need to be evidence pointing towards somebody, but there has to be a reason why they do it. Why would Israel take out their top guy? Think about it. Without the voice of Charlie Kirk, think about how much farther the right wing has gone into anti-Israeli. I mean, it would be dumb of us to conclude Mossad is a unintelligent group. That would be incredibly careless of us to do. We can't label our enemies as unintelligent. We have to recognize they're smart, and that's why they have have so much influence, why they have so much power. So why would they take out their top guy, which would clearly result in an inevitable push further on the right wing anti-Israeli? They're running out of voices. They can't afford to just kill their best one. That's not an option. So, with all of this evidence coming out, it's just saying, hey, look, if you don't have the evidence, don't speak because now you're destroying your platform, you're destroying your credibility, and you make legitimate conspiracies look worse. When people see Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all these big named voices, when they see these people going out and saying, oh, well, there's psychics who are having visions of Egyptian planes, and Charlie Kirk came to me in a dream and said that it was Israel. Well, guess what? Now you make conspiracy look like nut jobs. That's not good for the movement. That loses your credibility and it takes away from my credibility because they compare you and somebody who believes every conspiracy with the more evidence needy conspiracy theorists who see JFK, who see 9/11, who see the USS Liberty. They see all of us and they say, oh, you're just the same nut jobs as the ones who are having psychic dreams of Charlie Kirk. No, these are incredibly different. We can't be pairing all of this together because it takes away from our credibility. And this is something that is important when you're on the fringe of society, when you are an extremist on either side. If you are wrong sometimes, if you start to sound like a nut job, well, guess what? Now, all of your work is discredited. And not only is all of your work discredited, your work is now used to discredit other voices who have stayed consistent, who have stayed right. There is nobody who is of a greater necessity to never be wrong, to never make stuff up, than it is for us, really. Because we have to be the top of our game. We have to show that we are onto something. Because when we slip up, we will be teared apart more than anybody else. There's just like a lack of thought thoroughness. There's a lack of thoroughness between these actors. They say things to get people riled up. and that's what's becoming evident. It's not about reporting what is true, it's reporting what will get clicks. And that's how you disintegrate your movement. It's it's lazy journalism, and not only is it lazy journalism, it has real consequences. I mean, there's a human aspect to this as well. All of these people are saying that it was Erica Kirk. Erica Kirk was in on it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a very strong supporter of Erica Kirk either. I'm not a fan of the woman. I think she should be criticized politically. But where are we getting the idea that she killed her husband? That's a totally different story. I mean, this is a woman who watched her husband get executed on video, executed for speaking. In a very, very alarming video, too, a graphic one. You think she hasn't seen that? You think that hasn't torn her apart? Think about it, what it did to me and you. Now imagine that's your husband. Yeah. Or imagine it's your wife. Like, there's a human aspect to this. I fully believe Erica Kirk should be criticized politically. I do also think that Erica Kirk has used her husband's death to get farther in her career. And that's something I don't like. I'm not a fan of her in the slightest, don't get me wrong. But I'm still going to defend that we shouldn't be labeling this woman as a killer when she watched her husband die. I think that's wrong, especially when all of the evidence comes out that, hey, we had the right guy from the beginning. It always was Tyler Robinson. So until anybody finds any evidence that Erica Kirk was somehow involved, I think that woman deserves an apology from a lot of these people who claimed to be Charlie Kirk's closest friends. I mean, imagine your very, very closest friends are going at your wife after your death. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right at all. So, yeah, that's where we've that's how we lost the plot right there. It's it's disingenuous and dangerous to spread ideas that don't have any backing because it takes away from your ideas that do. This isn't about silencing a fringe idea. This isn't about saying, hey, you shouldn't say that because it doesn't go with the narrative. It's saying you shouldn't say that because of your credibility. Your credibility is at risk, and your credibility being at risk puts the movement's credibility at risk. We have to be the better. We have to be the best. Because if we're not the best, our fringe ideas get thrown out. All of our fringe ideas need firm backing, or all of them get thrown out together. Even if we can't play a game of just throwing darts blindly. No, we've got to be hitting bullseyes every time, or at least be getting pretty damn close. Because when we're this wrong, oh man, does it destroy us in the public light. So there is a legitimate danger to the movement's credibility and spreading that which, quite frankly, is not accurate. And these people are making clowns out of themselves, and they are attacking a woman who saw her husband die for the wrong reasons. Again, if she made herself a major political figure, she stepped up and took over CPUSA. So for that, we can criticize away. You want to be in the public light? Well, you're going to get the criticism of the public light. I don't care what you went through. But we still have to have some decency in doing it. There needs to be some kind of understanding that, hey, if we don't have evidence this woman's a killer, let's maybe not accuse her of killing her husband. Like, what do you think that does for us? It just makes us look like assholes. Like, what does that do for the movement? What does being a dick do for the movement? Nothing. Nothing at all. If we're gonna be a dick, we gotta have a reason for it. I'm not gonna tell you not to be a dick. I'm probably a bit of one myself. But there's gotta be some kind of a reason for it. There has to be. But for those of you waiting for my reveal, what you've said Tyler Robinson, all of this evidence is pointing towards him. Well, there's plenty. From a handwritten note saying, I'm so sorry, I have the chance of killing Kirk. I'm going to take it. Two, a text message exchange, which I'm going to read for you now, between Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson. You weren't the one who did it, right? Twiggs says. And then next, Robinson. I am. I'm so sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it. As soon as I got to my vehicle, I worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't even know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it. I hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge uwu on Fox News, I might have a stroke. Alright, I'm going to have to leave it. That really sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Sounds like a confession to me. Sounds like we have a kid who made a text message exchange after committing one of the worst atrocities as of late in the United States, and he left a full text message exchange explaining what he did and explaining why he did it. And something I'm seeing a lot of is people clowning this. They're saying, "Oh, this can't be real." Why would he outline what he did, him leaving his rifle, what his motives are? And I actually think there's a legitimate, pretty pretty clear reasoning why he would do this. Well, let's think about it for a second. Let's say you just committed the most high profile assassination since, I don't know, MLK, the most high profile political assassination. You're probably a little stressed out. Yeah, probably feel a need to vent, especially if you're a mentally ill person like Tyler Robinson clearly is. A mentally ill person in a relationship with a transgender named Lance Twiggs. And by the way, Lance Twiggs, this motherfucker's name is Lance Twiggs. Like, we've been knowing about this, right? But, oh man, it just does not get past me. Lance Twiggs, are you kidding me? That's the name of this fucker? Holy shit, what a ironic name, Twigs. Alright. But back to Tyler Robinson, he's in a place where he feels the need to vent, so he goes to somebody trusted. He's far away. He already wrote out a note. So, I mean, he he confesses to this person. He doesn't really think it through. This person on the other end just heard their romantic partner made the decision to pull off the most high profile assassination of a political figure in decades, and naturally would probably want to know why. So the question, why did you do it, I don't know, it doesn't feel all that crazy. And Robinson explaining to his romantic partner why he did what he just said he did doesn't seem all that crazy. Most of the evidence is lining up here. And another big thing about the conspiracy was, oh, well, the bullet, the 30-06, that would have just blown off his neck. But everything we've seen from legitimate ballistic experts, who aren't people who are just speaking to speak on the internet, they're saying that ballistics are incredibly hard to predict and generally unpredictable when they come in contact with the human body due to the flexibility of skin, the density in our bones. It's hard to predict. And another thing that can have a major impact on ballistics is the age of a gun. We're talking, I believe this gun was like a century old or something like that. I mean, it's an old gun. It was a family antique type of rifle. So, it's not that crazy to imagine, hey, we have this really, really old weapon, and maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have as strong of a force anymore. And look, I could be wrong. I would never claim to be a ballistics expert. I don't have much experience shooting firearms. I have very little. But from what I'm hearing, the story isn't that crazy. The people who are making it out to be crazy are people who openly just don't really have much of an idea. So, yeah. If there's one thing I do think that needs to be questioned, it's Lance Twiggs' involvement. I have a legitimate questioning of, is Lance Twiggs just this innocent victim that he's trying to make himself out to be? Because I don't buy it for a second. I don't. I in no way buy it. I think a legitimate investigation needs to be done into Twiggs to see if there's any connection that he has with this assassination. I mean, at the very least, he wasn't trying to expose Tyler Robinson immediately. So there is something to be said with that. Something incredibly major. But yeah, so that's that's the majority of the story. Tyler Robinson, it's becoming more and more clear, was the one who did it. And on a side note, there has been this push. Why isn't there evidence released? If it's so obvious Tyler Robinson did it, why don't we have the evidence? Well, the Kirk family is pushing for all of the evidence in this preliminary hearing to be public, and because of that, much of it is. Much of it now is. Enough of it where we could point towards Robinson. And the only reason, excuse me, the only reason more of it isn't public is because we have a constitution that says everybody deserves a fair trial, so they can't have biased juries. And you know how you get a biased jury? Oh, I don't know. All your jurors have already seen the evidence. They've already made a conclusion. So, so on that note, we're going to get more evidence, and more of it is going to be more of it's going to make it evidence that it was Robinson. And they criticized the university, what was it, Utah State, for paving over the execution. Well, when you have as much evidence as it seems that we do, it doesn't seem that unreasonable that they would no longer need the blood-stained concrete over there. They wouldn't need that anymore to prove who did it. Like it's not like they paved over the body. It's not like they paved over the gun. They paved over the blood-stained concrete. During a time when like there were kids who still were going to class there. So it's not all that unreasonable that, hey, maybe they don't want to keep a murder scene up, right? That seems quite reasonable for the university to do. So I don't know. I think almost the majority of it points towards, hey, this is a pretty clear-cut case. Tyler Robinson did it, and a lot of people owe Eric a Kirk an apology, and a lot of people made themselves look like dumbasses. We know that Israel doesn't have a reason to kill Charlie Kirk. That's very obvious. And if evidence comes out on a later time that points towards, hey, there's actually a bigger picture here, then fuck it. Let's investigate it. Let's look into it. But before we have anything, before we have a single piece of evidence, maybe let's hold back. And I think there's something bigger here too. There is certainly something bigger because by pointing this towards Israel, it actually takes away from something. And what that takes away from is the violent nature of the left, the growing violent nature of the left. And a big reason why I think you see a lot of the people talking the way they do is a lot of these are like sneako types who are saying, oh, we need to move past the left and the right. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because these people want to kill us. I mean, that's clearly Robinson's motivation. He was tired of the hatred speech he was seeing Kirk promote, the hateful speech, and the hateful speech is just pointing out the way reality is. I mean, by pushing this onto a foreign agency, we are taking away of the real responsibility the left wing has in creating this. That is a legitimate issue we have. And think about the long-term effects this has had. I mean, conservative commentators after this. There's a growing, and has been for a while, but that fear has been implemented, concreted, that, hey, maybe we don't go do the public event. And if we're going to do it, we need security everywhere. It's going to cost us a lot. Is it even worth doing it anymore? I mean, you never know who might be out there. There's a legitimate danger in it now. And that's what Tyler Robinson represents. I mean, this is a man who not a very important person, and like killing Kirk, like I hate to say it, that's not necessarily like winning that. I don't hate to say it. But what he did, it's not like ending the culture war. He didn't win the culture war by doing that. But what he did do was instill a fear into conservatives to not go out and speak. How can you have free speech in a nation where one side is willing and openly promotes the killing for that speech? I mean, what did we see the left wing do after Kirk got killed? Celebrate all over social media. You saw leftists celebrating this. I mean, look at like Fuentes, mortal enemy of Kirk. Multiple Kuiper wars, years of conflict. And you see the effect it had on him. That's the moral difference between the left and the right wing. We don't believe in killing each other. We believe that politics are a man's agreement to not kill each other and instead talk and speak to one another, to come to agreements without violence. That's what politics are. The left wing does not understand this, and for that, they are fine with promoting violence. There is no morality there. Nothing. Nothing moral. So by moving this to a foreign nation, you take away from a growing issue in America. Instead of the dialogue being, oh, Israel killed Kirk, oh, France was involved, oh, the CIA was involved, Erica Kirk was involved, the dialogue over the last year should have been, hey, what do we do about this growing political violence from the left wing? What do we do about these people who are celebrating the death of a political commentator? I think they should all be thrown out of the nation, but that wasn't the conversation we got to have because we got obsessive over something that wasn't real, didn't have evidence backing. It's wrong. It's disgusting. It's vile. It disgusts me to my core. I mean, we all remember the emotional impact it had on us. All of us. I would be shocked if any of you don't remember that feeling of watching Kirk drop to the floor, watching his neck get blown up. I mean, my eyes were filled with tears, my heart was in darkness. A shadow had engulfed the nation for weeks. Life wasn't the same anymore because everything got real fast. And instead of taking that energy and pushing against it No, no, what did we do? We went and found something fake. We went and found something fake to conceal our emotional impact of it. And that is wrong, and that was a bad strategy and a costly strategy. And now finally the evidence is here, and I cannot wait for this to be over. I cannot wait for this trial to conclude. I cannot wait for the video evidence to all be there. I cannot wait for all of the testimonies and confessions we get. I cannot wait for it to be made clear to everybody that it was Tyler Robinson, because I don't think that it is right. I don't think that it is right for us to blame it on something with no evidence, because that takes away from the dignity of our movement. That takes away from what we represent. It's upsetting. And it should upset you too, that people are so willing to blatantly make things up, to look for something that isn't there. And I don't even have an issue with the looking for something, but to report on something that isn't there. And to convince the masses so that they get distracted from what is actually going on. So that they get distracted from the fact that our lives are at risk. You are Charlie Kirk. I am Charlie Kirk. Not in the way of we embody what he represents, but we embody that which wants to be killed, that which the left wants to be killed. You are Charlie Kirk because the left wants to kill you for your speech. I am Charlie Kirk because the left wants to kill me for my speech. Irina, your daughter is Irina. Your wife is Irina. The left is okay with her killing because of racial, because of racial systems. It's wrong, it's disgusting. Because she's white, it's okay to kill her. Because her killer was black. Your son is Austin Metcalf. You are Austin Metcalf. You are Charlie Kirk. Your son is Austin Metcalf. Your daughter is Irina. That's the situation we're in. It's okay to kill white people because they're white as long as the killer is black. It's okay to kill a political commentator as long as their speech is hateful. As long as their speech is hateful. Yeah. That's the world that we have created. And the fact that that this strong emotional point in our history was taken advantage of for clicks, that it was co-opted by fake ideas that honestly only brought down the movement, that increased the prevalence of low IQ anti-Semitism, that took away from the legitimate critiques, that's disgusting. This should have been a turning point for our country, and instead it was a regression. And that is wrong and disgusting. And if that doesn't upset you, then something's wrong with you. To be honest, something's wrong with you if that does not upset you. If it didn't upset me, I'd find something wrong with myself. So, yeah. Yes. But on that note, I'm going to wrap up this stream. Thank you all for watching. If you have anything you'd like to tell me, feel free to either ask now live or leave it in the comments later on. I will do my best to respond to everything. So, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like, it helps out the movement greatly. But thank you very much. So long. Peace out. And God bless all of you.